Sit back, relax. This is Can We Talk? Hello and welcome to Can We Talk, the debate show where we have young adults discussing debatable topics. Introducing our panel, to my right, we have Danielle Gillum. To my left, we have Nicole Nichols. And straight ahead, we have Steve Taylor. Let's get into the first topic. Can we talk about what effects has the emergence of hip-hop had on society?
Overall, I would say a positive effect just because when it started, most people thought it wasn't going to last more than 5 years. And I think like when you think of like any other genres of music, you have stuff that is, considered classics because it stands the test of time. But I think maybe the past 10 years, more recently, the gap is getting closer between, has it had a positive influence versus a negative. I think the negative is slowly creeping up, because labels, force people to get into these boxes. You have to be this type of artist. You have to follow this trend and different things. And I think that makes a negative, it brings negative energy for the real people that watch it because they're trying to live this fake life, and then negative things start to happen.
Absolutely. You have, speaking of negativity, I'm going to just touch on that. Rick Ross getting dropped from his label from Reebok because the negativity, they don't want the company looking bad. So the words you have in the song,
That's a great point.
that's negativity right there. So
I was actually listening to Meek Mills was on the radio, a DC station, and he actually said that he doesn't care what people say about his lyrics, and rap music has always been talking about like money and sex and things of that nature. So that had me to thinking, because I don't feel like it was like that, but what about if society changed music? Music didn't change society.
Well, people do talk about the same stuff. Like you had the dance party, the dance songs and the party stuff. I don't see why it has to have this negative label attached to it.
So are you saying that hip-hop has had no negative effect on society today?
Well, just to touch on, an article that I found this past week, unanimous, I guess he's a record executive or somebody like that. He was talking about how in '91 there was this secret meeting to push gangster rap, because there was like these prisons that was sponsored by, funded by, I guess you could say like the government or somebody. But basically there was an agenda to push negative energy via music to occupy these prisons. So I think, I don't think the music itself has a negative energy about it. I think there's manipulation that pushes it. Because, the world isn't pretty. Bad things happen, but why does the bad have to be highlighted all the time? You gotta balance it.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was saying. I feel like our lifestyle and our society has influenced the music instead of music influencing us. Because I feel like when it first started, hip-hop in general wasn't art. Like, it was used to show, like, the struggle and the things that people were going through on a day-to-day basis. And now it's more so, like, the negativity is being shown through. But I think that's a society influencing our music versus music influencing how we act today.
What came first, though, the chicken or the egg, because just to use somebody, for example, Biggie, his first album was Ready to Die. It was angry, it was aggressive, that was his state of living at the time. But by the time he made a second one, it was the life after. That's what he called it, life after death. He's like, listen, I don't hustle anymore. I can't keep rapping about that. I want to talk about different things. And then, what overcame that? The negativity, and then he was murdered.
One of the things that has been brought to my attention is like-minded thinking. So if you get everyone to think alike, you can manipulate them much easier as opposed to having different kind of mindsets and being able to have to reach one set of people and then another set of people. Now you're bringing people together, they think like-minded.
And exactly, that's where the article about the secret meeting and everything, I don't want to say too much, falls into play.
Okay.
So
there's movers and shakers behind the scenes, but I feel like not just record executives. I feel like too sometimes producers can manipulate it, because if they make a beat a certain way or it's portrayed a certain way, that also dictates how the listeners hear it, how the viewers view the videos. Because sometimes you might see a video and you hear the song, but then when you see the video, you're like, where's the connection? I didn't see that coming. Where did all this manipulation come from?
Well, in terms of looking for how hip hop has influenced our community, you take, for instance, the message that's put through a lot of music. Is it a message that you would say, this is the kind of music I want my kids to listen to, and expect them to actually become the person I want them to become? Or is it, I'm kind of leery about some of the music they're going to listen to, I wonder who that may persuade them to be?
I feel like you need to work with your kids. Like,
Stream.
I've listened to
Music has to be
exactly.
streamed.
Yeah.
I've listened to hip hop growing up, like all the time. I was never in jail. I didn't kill anybody. Like I mean, yes, it does something to you. I know when I listen to my song and I'm jamming on the highway, I tend to drive a little bit faster because I'm into it. But for the most part, I don't feel like it. I don't think that would have that heavy of a negative influence on somebody.
Yeah,
Like,
not too much of a heavy impact where you're like, you can't listen to Tupac because you're not going to be a doctor if you do. Some of the, it's not one of those kind of situations with hip hop.
Interesting.
I don't want to cut you off, but I'll just talk about something, for instance, like, I'm not going to lie. There's some people we listened to growing up, we knew lyrically, they don't bring much to the table, but sometimes you got to realize also music is also entertainment. You know what I mean? So you can't take everything like, oh, this is definitely real life. Sometimes you got to separate that entertainment aspect of it from, the deep lyrical songs and stuff. Because I think people take entertainment and think, oh, that's real life, so I'm going to keep trying to do that, and they never live up to it because it's not real to begin with.
So what are you saying that you can substitute the meaning of the lyrics for the quality of the sound?
No, that's not what he's saying. Don't try to switch up his words.
No. All right, let me just break it down for you a little bit more. What I'm saying to you is like, okay, I'll use a specific artist, Mystical. He used to make party songs. People used to like it. It was right. It was a party song. You feel like he always had sound effects too. Like, but you gotta take that and say, okay, this is Mystical. I know he's got catchy songs with nice beats. That's club music. You live outside of the club. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have like $1,000, you're not gonna go to $1,000 and just make it rain and pop bottles and don't pay your mortgage or don't pay your rent. You know what I mean? You gotta have that balance. So knowing, okay, Mystical, he's not that serious about his music, so why be serious trying to live that lifestyle? And then you have, people that are lyrical.
Well, one thing that I don't want to forget is that music can be so influential. And Nicole had mentioned earlier, well, let's look more at the positive side of music. Well, the question now is, what is the positive side that hip hop has brought? What has it brought that's positive?
Hip hop, the positivity that it brings, I guess it makes money
To who?
for companies.
Well, it's no prerequisite.
not even
People-
just companies. People can. It's a way of
get
them
into
to
it.
get out of the hood or
You
wherever
got
they
people
came
that's
from.
making money for recording, behind the scenes, making the beat makers make music. The people that really aren't getting paid really are the musicians,
Yeah.
are the artists, are the ones that really aren't making the money. These big companies, commercials, Super Bowl
360
commercials.
deals.
Everyone wants a song.
Well, the thing that concerns me about, especially with hip hop and the whole culture and everything, is like Danielle, you had mentioned, it gives people a way to get out the ghetto and maybe become quote unquote become someone. Realistically, how many people actually make it? And how many people spend a lot of time chasing those dreams, just same with athletes, a dream that may never could become. And they say, well, I'm looking for my break.
Happens a lot. Happens all the time.
So is that dream and that chance worth chasing just to?
It depends on the person.
Right.
Who are we to say, don't get into hip hop, it's not worth chasing? What's wrong with hip hop is it's so dark. the world around us is becoming dark. If you look at a lot of videos,
That's true.
everything's geared towards black and darkness, and that's what's wrong with hip hop. If anything's wrong with hip hop, it's too dark and it's just
I think
dreary and it's draining. It's becoming draining.
I don't think it's still hip hop anymore because I think there's a difference between hip hop and rapping. I think it's just people rapping now. There's not really the whole hip hop culture, no movement behind what's going on. I think people look at it, you know, like Nicole was saying, times are bad, times are rough. I'm just gonna get paid. I don't care about having the whole cultural influence. I don't care about, you know, what's going on as long as I'm making money off of that. And that's where label executives capitalize because then they'll say, okay, sign here.
And you gotta think about it. When you ask about how long do you fight for that dream, you never know, because I know Philly artists and Northtown artists who they have a lot of stuff to say, but then you look at like Trinidad James, who's big now, like, and how did that happen?
Because he got gold all in his everything.
Well, there's plenty of music that says, I'm a thug, you can be a thug too. Where's the music that says, listen, only chase this dream as long as possible, and if you don't make it, then stop?
The best thing about music is also the worst thing. There's no prerequisite. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to be a producer. You don't even have to sing. There's auto-tune. You know what I mean? So the fact there's no prerequisite, you know, talent might not be what's needed. It might just be right place, right time. And that's all it takes sometimes. But
Nowadays, I don't think it was like that back in the day.
But again, that was like how we were saying, like, it's not really a cultural movement. It's just more like people just getting paid. You know, that's what they want to do. They want that opportunity on. They don't care.
Well, Steve, you mentioned something that I actually liked, or was it Nicole maybe, about the talent that nowadays you don't even have to have talent to become an artist.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, and you had mentioned something previously at the very beginning of this conversation. My question is, well, will the music that we hear today ever become classics?
Honestly, we have to wait and see, but I say no. And the reason I say no is because a lot of people, I feel like, are trendy rappers. You're riding a trend. And, like, remember we were in high school, where's D4L now? Where's them franchise boys? You know what I'm saying? So in another 5-10 years, you know, where is Gucci Mane going to be? Where is Rick Ross? Where is 2 Chainz? 2 Chainz is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. And it's not to, you know, speak against him, but with his age, he didn't get on into hip-hop when, you know, his prime was maybe in the 90s or early 2000s. Now he's getting on as the game is becoming more watered down.
This is Can We Talk, and we'll be right back.